I've come to Bordeaux, but unfortunately I'm not here to taste wine. I've come to sample the new Renault Scenic. Now, it's in its 4th generation, and Renault hopes that this car is going to be just as groundbreaking as the original was when it created the compact MPV class back in 1996. And to find out, here's the Car Wow 10 things you need to know about the new Renault Scenic. Now, Renault says that MPVs don't have to look boring, and they try to make this new Scenic seem as much like a concept car as possible. In fact, it's almost identical to the R-Space concept from 2011. One of the ways they've done that is by giving it huge wheels. You get 20 inches as standard. I mean, you don't even get that on most Aston Martins. Now, to ensure that hasn't ruined the car's ride quality, they've had some tyres specifically designed for this car with big sidewalls, but we'll see how that plays out when I test drive this car. But yeah, overall, this is a great looking car for an MPV, but when you open the door and look inside, well, that interior doesn't actually live up to the exterior. It's a little bit boring in comparison. So engine choices. There's one turbo petrol, it's 1.2, and you can get it with either 115 or 130 horsepower, and you want the more powerful one considering the size of this car. There's a 1.5 litre diesel in 95 or 110 horsepower, or you can get the 110 horsepower with hybrid assist and it'll do 80 miles per gallon. This is the 1.6 litre diesel. Now you can get in 130 horsepower, or this one, which is the twin turbo with 160 horsepower, and it's got a decent amount of shove. The only problem is you can only get it with a 6-speed automatic, and it's all right, the automatic, sometimes a bit slow to respond. In fact, I'm not that keen on Renault's manuals either, really. This car is one of the easiest to operate seating systems of any MPV. It really is as simple as this. One slight problem is that you don't get individual seats in the middle of the row. It's split 60-40. Also, knee room is a little bit on the tight side, and you only get ISOFIX fittings on the outer 2 middle row seats and the front passenger seat. Now, getting into the back, that's not too much of a hardship because this gives you enough space to get in. I'll just put this seat down so you can see what's happening. Now, if I pull this seat back, I'm going to probably want to stop it about there to have decent knee room back here, but then it does leave those passengers a bit cramped. Headroom's bearable, and it's all right in the back, really only for kids though. So the Scenic range kicks off at just under £20,000, though you have to pay an extra 1,400 quid if you want this Grand Scenic version. There's 4 trim levels: Expression, Dynamique, Dynamique S, which is the one you want with a 1.5 litre diesel with 110 horsepower, or this range-topping signature model which has all the bells and whistles. Probably not worth the extra cash though. As standard, the Scenic comes with a landscape style 7-inch touchscreen, but if you get a Dynamic S model or above, you get the larger portrait style, which is really nice. You can see various apps open at once, and you tap on one to make it larger, and on the whole it's very easy to use and to navigate. You can also get the car with various driving modes to suit your preferences, and even set up an individual setting for yourself. This car's got digital instrument dials, and if I start the engine, you'll also see that we've got a pop-up heads-up display. Euro NCAP has awarded this car a full 5-star safety rating. It comes as standard with autonomous emergency braking, and that includes pedestrian detection, which is a first in this class as standard. You can also upgrade the systems to include things like lane departure warning, lane keeping assist, and even a fatigue detection, which can spot if you're falling asleep behind the wheel and will warn you. And on the whole, visibility is good too, which helps boost safety. And if you click up there, you can see for yourself by joining me for a 360-degree passenger ride video in the Renault Scenic. If I do have one complaint though, it's the fact that you can't get curtain airbags for the 3rd row. So it's kind of like sod the people in the back. Renault has given its new Scenic some pretty cool cubby spaces on top of the usual big door bins and things. You get a glove box that's huge and it slides like a drawer with some food in there and an iPad. We'll need it in a second. There's also plenty of storage under here as well. And the interesting thing is you can do this, look, you can slide this bit backwards and forwards if you want. Now, moving to the back, if you look down here, you will see that everyone has some extra storage underneath their feet. There you go. And then you've got these tray tables, and this is why I needed the iPad, because there's special ridges put in there specifically to hold an iPad, and there's some bracing straps as well. Considering this car is riding on 20-inch rims, the suspension is still nice and soft, though the car does fidget about a bit on rough surfaces. It never feels quite as settled as a Volkswagen Touran. It doesn't corner quite as well as one either, though it doesn't seem quite as rolly as a Citroen Grand C4 Picasso. One problem I do have though is the steering. It's all just kind of rubbery and vague. Another issue is that, yeah, this car is generally pretty quiet, but there is a bit of wind whistle just whipped up here by this A-pillar. On the whole though, it's a reasonable drive for an MPV. This car has a really useful boot. So according to Renault, the 5-seater Scenic has the biggest boot in its class. This is the 7-seater, and obviously with all the seats in place, there's not that much room, but there is somewhere handy to store the parcel shelf. I do like this feature though, look. You can lower the seats electrically by pressing these buttons. You just press them in and they just fold down. Look at that, all dead easy to use. You can do them individually or all at once. It even automatically lowers the headrest for you. You can even control it from the control screen in the front. That's really handy, and you're left with a nice flat low bay. Perfect. If you've had a vasectomy after your third child, you may as well get this Scenic model because it only has 5 seats. You won't need the extra 2 in the back. And on the whole, it feels almost identical to the Grand Scenic to drive. Although it is ever so slightly easier to park because it's a bit shorter. Though if you are bad at parking, you can get the car with automatic parking and it'll steer the car into a space for you. I'm driving the one with a 1.2 litre turbo petrol engine with 130 horsepower. And if you only do town driving most of the time, just get this engine, it'll do the job nicely. So overall, this Scenic and Grand Scenic, well, I think it's a happy midpoint between the quirky yet a little bit confusing Citroen Grand C4 Picasso and Picasso, and the practical, good to drive yet achingly dull Volkswagen Touran. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, share it and subscribe to our channel. Now, did you spot the Easter egg? It was the French guidebook in the car's centre console. Now, if you click over there, you can watch our 360-degree passenger eye video of the new Renault Scenic, our full review of the C4 Grand Picasso and the VW Touran. If you click up there on the I button, you can find out the best deal you can get on a new Renault at carwow.co.uk.